Welcome to 52 Drinks in 52 Weeks. If there is one drink that has been keeping us nostalgic, our parents, even their parents, and even the British, it has to be Roohafza.
I remember as a kid, in the pitch of summers, my grandparents would make it for me with chilled water and just a squeeze of lemon, or especially at Gurpurab, where it's served in that watered-down milk version of it, but it was yummy.
Well, for me, it was, I think, the easiest way that my mother could lure me into drinking milk.
Well, for a bit of history, Roohafza started back in 1906 to beat the monstrous heat of Delhi by a practitioner of Unani medicines and herbal medicines called Hakim Abdul Majid. Unani system is a philosophy that comes from the Greek physician Hippocrates, who believed in the healing power of nature and advocated that medicine should always be safe and gentle.
Just like me. So Roohafza was created as a medicine and first sold by Hakim Majid at his Dawakhana called Hamdard in Lal Kuwa area of Old Delhi. Hamdard means the sympathizer in pain, and Roohafza means the soothing of the soul in Persian. And the Bangladeshi website of Roohafza says that the character came from a book which was written by Pandit Daya Shankar Naseem Lakhnavi. And who was the character? It was the daughter of the heaven called Jannat Ki Beti.
When it was released in 1907, it had a really fancy label designed by Mirza Noor Ahmed, and it still remains unchanged to date. In fact, it was too complicated to be printed locally and was sent to be printed by the Bolton Press of the Parsis of Bombay. And the earlier Roohafza was a heavier and taller bottle, long stem made of glass with a wooden cork, just like wine. Today, we have this plastic bottle since 2012 for various reasons.
It is said that by 1912, a lot of princely rulers made it a part of their daily diets, and it became especially famous amongst the Muslim community because they have this festival called Ramzan or Ramadan, where they keep fast for the entire day, which is called Roza. And at the end of the day, they would have a single meal called iftar. And the whole family would sit together. And the grandmothers and the mothers, they would pour Roohafza to them from a massive jar. And why would they drink that? Because not only it was refreshing and soothing, but it was also a natural beverage. So I think Roohafza has been a part of family kitchens since a very early time. And I don't know any family that does not have it in their shelves. And this is probably the reason why even in modern movies today, for example, Ye Jawani Hai Diwani, Ranbir Kapoor's mother pours him a glass of it.
Back to history for a bit. Hakim Majid passed away in 1922 and he left the reins of his business in the hands of his 14-year-old son, Abdul Hamid, who successfully expanded and took the business, fairly wide. And like many homes in India, partition broke up the family. And Muhammad Said, the second son, he moved to Pakistan. And at that time, they already had a setup in Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. So Roohafza, not only did it see the two world wars, depression, but it also saw the partition and division into three new countries. And Arundhati Roy's book, The Ministry of Utmost Happiness, mentions this.
As for the recipe of Sharbat, they are ideally based on either a fruit, a flower, or roots. Roohafza has all three of them, and that's what makes it special. But what makes it unique? Here's Mr. Hamid Ahmed, the CEO of Hamdard Laboratories in India, to tell you that.
So what makes Roohafza unique is its century-old complex formulation, which includes essential oils of keura, rose, juices of orange and pineapple, lots of extract of herbs and roots of plants which cool the body down.
And minus the two very nostalgic, typical way of drinking it, either with chilled water with a squeeze of lemon or with milk, as you mentioned. There are other ways of doing that, but don't take that from us. Here's somebody to tell you that.
Hey, my name is Nitin and everyone know I'm a bartender. So today I'm going to make a drink which is a non-alcoholic version and it's for everyone, like a family. So first thing, what we're going to do is put some ice. Now I'm going to put the Roohafza Sharbat. I'm going to pour around 120 or 90 ml of it. Now to balance it up, I have squeezed some lemon juice. So this is around 60 ml of it. So I made a masala chai, just tea bag and some spices that put together, and I'm just gonna pour it over that. Take a spoon and start mixing. Now I'll add some freshness that will come from the mint leaves. Put it in. So that's one. So watermelon, cucumber, oranges, whatever you have at home. And that's Hamara Roohafza.
Nitin, that was pretty good and thank you so much for that. And that's just one innovation, guys. And Hamdard themselves have tried many innovations as well, be it launching their ready-to-serve format like the Roohafza Fusion, or there's been Roohafza-inspired drinks at the barista coffee shops, or even developing Roohafza-flavored milk. But one of the most talked about things that they did was a carbonated drink, which is done by Roohafza Pakistan, which is called Roohafza Go. Some loved it, some didn't like it, but you know what? Consumer is king.
Coming back to India, Roohafza still dominates 50% of the powdered soft drink and liquid concentrate market. And there's a magazine in the US called the Savor magazine, which a lot of people consider to be the last word on authentic cuisines. In 2007, they listed the top 10 drinks. The number one drink from around the world was our Roohafza.
And Roohafza is a sharbat. And whether you call it sharbat, sherbat, or sarbat, the name comes from an Arabic word, shariba, meaning to drink. And it actually arrived in India with the Mughals in the 16th century.
And not just that, there is an earlier rendition of that in the book Travel of Ibn Battuta in Asia and Africa. It is said that he had this massive royal meal with the Sultan Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq of Tughlaqabad in New Delhi, where he said that the meal started with a sharbat of rose water and finished with a pan.
That makes a lot of sense because Roohafza has been a classic dressing in faludas and rabris, which are also great desserts of Persian origin that the Mughals brought to us. And Humayun, I am told, was a big fan of them actually.
Baba brought it, Humayun was eating faluda, and now talk about his son Akbar, who was a vegetarian 3 times a week. It is said that he cultivated his own kitchen garden and he carefully nourished every single plant with rose water on a daily basis so that the vegetables would smell extremely fragrant when they were cooked.
So all in all, basically, it's not just 100 years, it goes back almost 1,000 years, this whole history of sharbat. But with the coming of Western carbonated beverages in the last few decades, they've got stiff competition and the popularity of sharbats has been dented severely. However, right now, when we're all getting nostalgic in this pandemic, I think it's a great time to revive these drinks, and vocal for local is such a big movement.
True that. I'll happily opt for a Roohafza over any carbonated drink, be it at a hotel or at a restaurant as well. And why stop at that? Why not use it in mixology, in baking, in desserts? I say let's freaking do that. In times of
Atmanirbhar Bharat
and where we have to be
local के लिए vocal.
Let it not just be a drink from our childhood that creates nostalgia every time we see it. Let's start up our history, our heritage, drink it, and be proud of that. So
I have it with milk, and I found the most Mughal Azam glass I could find. So yeah, cheers, Gagan.
Cheers to that.